Hello everyone and welcome back to Starcraft 2. If you watched my previous video, you will be very much aware that I got my promotion very recently from Starcraft 2's 1v1 rank ladder Silver League, Tier 1 up to Gold League, Tier 3. And yeah, I really enjoyed the game, turns out, so I probably will be doing more content and coverage of it as time goes on. It won't be the only game that I do coverage of, as I do plan to transition into some other games as time does pass, as it inevitably does. But yeah, this game is pretty fantastic, so do expect more coverage of it in future. And what is going to be fun is that I'm going to be trying a mix of both post-match analysis within the replay system of Starcraft 2, which was, you know, in the style of the previous video where I was in the replay section, removing Fog of War, looking at both players' good plays and mistakes, kind of seeing how one player countered the other, etc, etc. And that kind of video definitely is valuable for that very in-depth analysis post-match, where you're not playing and you're able to dedicate your full mental power to, you know, deconstruct what happened in that match and how one person won it over the other. But I will also be doing, to add to this mix and have a nice bit of variety, as I do like to say, variety is indeed the spice of life, and indeed of gaming, and therefore, to add to this mix, I will be doing live commentary as well. These videos will be live commentaries of me playing a match in 1v1 ranked ladder, as well as providing my own commentary by the side as I play. I will be explaining my choices, my tech decisions, why I decide to move out at a certain time, what I think that my opponent is doing, and I do believe this will be very interesting for you guys because you'll be able to hear sort of the live kind of reactions of me responding to my opponent's moves and counterattacking and doing various things, going down different tech paths, all the above. So it should be pretty interesting. Fair warning, I am needing to use my headset mic for these live commentary style videos, and therefore the audio quality might be slightly worse, but quite frankly, I've messed around quite a bit in Audacity, which is actually some post-editing software, post-recording software that I use on my audio to improve it for you graceful viewers of my channel. So yeah, I will be editing the audio, so it shouldn't sound too bad, but it will sound different, shall I say, to the mic that I am currently using for this intro. There you go, we got a nice comparison. And yeah, so it's going to be a nice mix in the future of live commentary whilst I play, as well as post-match breakdown analysis style videos, basically casts of my matches in the replay section. So yeah, you've got that to look forward to. Yay! So without further ado, let us hop into a 1v1 ranked ladder game in Starcraft 2. See you on the flip side.
Okay, so we're just going to be hopping into just a gold v gold match apparently. Protoss against Zerg. Fantastic. On Proxima Station LE. Now, given that I've really only been playing StarCraft 2 in this current season for really just a short while, it's GLHF. I've got to be honest, I'm not too familiar with all the maps that are currently in the system. Which is fine, because, you know, that's just a thing that comes with time. But still, it's definitely a little worrying. I mean, it looks like a fairly standard map. If we take a look at all this, it's, you know, it's fairly open, not too close. This looks like a very easy expansion, so maybe people play passively. Really not too sure. There we go, pile on down, let's get a gateway, and now let's go and scout. Stick the probe on a hotkey, so we can kind of swap between our bases. And I've got the base on 1 and the probe on 4. It's sort of just like really easy to go from all of the natural hotkeys like Q, W, E, R over to 1 and 4. It's just, you know, 1 to 5 are very easy hotkeys to hit, which is pretty sick. We should be going for a gas as well. So as soon as this is built, the gateway, we will be going into... Okay, I'm going to follow that sucker. I'm still at the point in my career where I'm like super suspicious of anything that enters my base early on. Which is probably a good mentality to have, let's face it. Okay, what's he going for? I wouldn't say a super fast spawning pool, but you know what, I'm going to play it safe. Let's make another gateway as well. Let's select a bunch of these. Make another worker. Might as well hop over and make a pylon. Okay, so this is a fairly standard build. From what I'm seeing currently, the better players tend to go for like a nexus first after your gateway. But I'm pretty sure this is just, you know, agreed to be a safer opening where you go for like 2 gateways, and once your cybernetics core is done, you can go for like double stalker, double adept. Something along those lines is fairly solid. Let's go with that. Let's also pick up that, get our expansion. Gonna be playing safe, sticking it down there. Continuing to make workers, of course, pretty important stuff. Let's make one of those. Is it gonna be... No, you couldn't do a Zergling drop at this time, surely. Okay, so it looks like he's playing fairly standard. Nothing too cheesy. He's going for like a reasonably timed expansion, nothing too unusual about that. Let's get that. Let's control those. Let's pick up a couple of stalkers. I cannot. I will go for 2 adepts instead then. Add that to my hot group for my bases, and I've actually currently messed up this control group, so there we go. So I will actually just control group those over there, and in fact, I guess I'll just do that instead. So what you do to like really quickly, I'm finding, refill new expansions in terms of workers is literally just send all of your rallying bases over there in terms of their worker kind of rally point. What that does, it just allows you to fill up all your bases much quicker than you otherwise would be able to. So let's make a robo bay, pretty standard. Add on a couple of those. Okay, so now that that's actually built, we can start building probes from both of our bases as soon as we have the resources to. And that merry chase is going on. I imagine nothing's going to come from that, but you know what, that's fine. So let's just go down there and also check out this, see what he's doing. Meanwhile, just kind of making sure we go... Ooh, he's going super defensive. A Roach Warren and Evolution Chamber, so he's going to go for like a Roach push. In which case, I think the best way we counter that is just going for heavy robo units. So potentially, well, first off, let's just add on like another pylon. Let's also go for like one of those. Turn those into warp gates, as they are infinitely better than gateways. Start making some of these bad boys. Okay. So whilst we might be temporarily low on minerals, we do still want to invest heavily into gas, as robo units take a ton of gas, especially once you get to like disruptors or immortals, not immortals, disruptors or colossi. So what I think I'm going to be doing is instead going for something like this. Let's pick up ground weapons, let's pick up another immortal as soon as we have the minerals. Yeah, let's do that. Nearly there. There we go. Still making lots of probes. Really, I think we're going to be maxing out on 2 bases, which seems perfectly fine. Making sure to chrono boost everything that we can, just to optimize how fast we do things. Let's get, yeah, 2 and 2 seems fine. We've got 3 and 3 here, which is also fine. So let's get a bunch of adepts.
Glory to the Daylom.
Let's also start going into... Well, first off, let's make another immortal. And as soon as we have the resources, I'm going to get extended thermal lance, as that will just make colossi just so much better once I go into them. Let's boost that out. And then once that's done, we should have enough resources to go into something a little different. Let's get a sentry. Make sure to chrono boost that out. Okay, I think we can start going into 3 with all of that. Yeah, that seems perfectly fine. And let's get our first Colossus. Lovely. Continuing to make units. macroing is definitely very important in StarCraft 2, but also making sure that you have, you know, some kind of a standing army. That's also kind of important as well, as your opponent will, chances are, be more interested in killing you than anything else. Let's make some of those. Eventually, I will be interested in going into something like a Twilight Council for upgrades. Quite frankly, I guess I'll just slap one down now. Let's also make another gateway. And we're more or less fine for workers. Yeah, so let's go for something like some Stalkers, just for a bit of a mix. We can also start targeting down like Overlords and things, which is pretty sick. And as soon as that Twilight Council is ready, I can go into improved weapons for that, and we do need some more pylons, so let's just dot them around, shall we? There we go. Getting supply blocked is not great, but oh well. That happens sometimes. So in just a short second, we should be okay for that. Let's also pick up Resonating Glaives. Let's pick up... There we go, we're getting that now. We can pick up ground weapons because we've got the Twilight Council. Get the gateway out. Let's boost that up. Also get some more Stalkers. Okay, our army's not looking too bad. I'm not sure what the timing is for a massive roach kind of Ravager push, which is what I'm assuming that he's going for. Like, I have to assume he's going for that. But it's approaching the point where I will want to just go into another base, to be honest. Yeah, I think we are just going to commit to Colossi for like another good few. At the very least. Oop, that was the wrong one to chrono boost, that is for sure. Just making sure that I'm chrono boosting everything that's roughly important. I mean, the choice is either I go for a ton of gateways, which honestly I think I will just go for, as I'm pretty sure it's going to go for some kind of timing attack. There we go. That was painfully slow, don't get me wrong, but there we go, making sure we don't get supply blocked is good. Trying to spend our resources, but like I said, the aggressive nature of this game really makes me want to make units instead of expand, but at the same time, roach units aren't known for being the fastest of units, so potentially I would be fine with taking an expansion. And this is where kind of better game experience, I guess I would call it, would be quite valuable. Let's just move our stuff down here. Let's take an expansion. I mean, I've got the awkward feeling that this is just going to encourage him to attack. Did I ever take... You know what I'm wondering? I don't think I ever took... First off, we'll pour those in. Huh, I do have a mothership core somewhere. Does anyone know where the mothership core is? I actually cannot see it. Ah, it's there. Okay, we got it. Yeah. And I actually did stick it on a hotkey, which is pretty sick. So given that, this looks like it's going to be a bit of a aggressive push from him, I'm just going to stick down a ton of these bad boys. Pylons that can get buffed up, making sure our mothership core is in a good spot. Let's start making a few immortals as well. Let's make a bunch of Stalkers. They're just good against most things. What was that? Just a Zergling for scouting? Yeah, I guess. Add that to our base control group. Like, we're closing in on being maxed out, but I'm still not too confident. It kind of depends what kind of a game he's going for. It seems like he's going for a very passive game. I fully expected him to go for something a bit more aggressive, to be completely honest. Make sure we've got kind of complete coverage against Nidus worms, which can happen at this level, I have found. Which is not fantastic. Now let's also make a Twilight Council. Ooh, okay, here we go, let's... Oh, we vaporized him. We messed him up. We actually messed him up big time. Okay, well, given that that went just so well, I'm actually going to push in.
Mineral field depleted. Intriguing. Mineral field depleted.
We haven't gotten Blink, so that definitely does suck. But regardless, I'm quite happy about how that turned out. Let's make sure all of our workers are being rallied over to here. Let's also make sure that we keep making stuff. That seems pretty important. And quite frankly, I'm going to send my mothership core over here as well.
I am the voice of the eclipse.
Just so I can recall some stuff. And let's also slap down a probe there. There we go. Okay, hang on. Let's pull back so we don't lose everything. We've got so much Colossi power here that quite frankly I feel like we can win most fights that's going to happen.
Direct us. Endi Barakai.
Make sure that we keep making probes to saturate that third base that we found. It's pretty sick. We've got a lot of firepower. I feel like he's going to start targeting these down. He's not killing my mothership core, which is nice. We actually take all of that out, so let's focus fire that down. Focus fire the queen. There we go. At this point, he's just taking lots and lots of damage. Let's take out the Spore Crawler, as I do believe that hits the Colossi as well. So we're just going to continually do this, and we're going to warp in a bunch of stuff. So we've wiped out one of his bases, which is, you know, a really good result for a push.
I am here in the shadows.
Let's also get some High Templar here, because why not? Speaking of High Templar, we definitely want to be getting that upgrade. That seems pretty important. And now that we've saturated that base out, we can just go for like boom, boom, boom. Let's also get some Zealots, as we did actually pick up... Ah, we can't get Zealots. Okay, that's fine then. Let's fight this base, shall we? Looks like he has expanded quite a bit, but that's fine, as I've just got so much firepower here that I'm really not too scared. And we take the win. So that was super passive, but that was mostly because I expected him to take some kind of timing attack with all of those kind of roaches. But maybe he didn't actually make a lot of roaches. What we saw was a roach warren, but that could have been like a safety roach warren. Maybe he was planning to play super macro heavy. I'm really not too sure, but yeah, let's hop into the score screen. Let's try and get some of that post-match analytics going on. So there we are, that's literally the first game we've played in ranked 1v1 since we got promoted, so getting some wins in now, so we've got a nice kind of points buffer, so we don't instantly drop down into silver tier 1. That would be quite nice, so that's definitely quite helpful. So let's have a look. Oh yeah, we leveled up. I'm pretty sure we leveled up. First win of the game, yep. Pretty sick. Okay, so who was playing better? One thing I've noticed, I'm actually quite good with the whole not getting supply capped, whilst it felt like I was actually supply capped for a ton of that game. Comparatively to most people at this level, I'm not too bad. So I'm pretty happy with that. And my workers made, you know, against a super macro Zerg, I'm under the understanding that the Zerg will always have more workers because they want to expand, they want to have at least one more base over the Protoss player, because the Protoss player's bases can sort of create more power inside an army kind of setting than a Zerg base can, so they need an extra base to kind of compensate. But yeah, APM, this is actually slightly below average. As you can see, I'm sort of averaging 80 most days. Might have been because I was trying to commentate at the same time. Average unspent resources, not terrible. So let's see what happened then. I mean, as you can see, he actually mined more than I did, but that's because a Zerg can, because they take extra bases. Went for less tech, as you can see, less structures. But I guess that might actually be just how Zerg work, because they don't actually need gateways as such, or the Zerg equivalent, they just have lava. So graphs, very steady army value throughout the game, and then he attacked, I have to imagine is what this point was. This was when he invested heavily into all of his stuff. Maybe it was later. I mean, maybe that was the attack at sort of 11 minutes-ish. Rather peculiar. But yeah, army value really over the time. I don't think he needed to GG out completely, but maybe he felt... I mean, he clearly knew how well he was doing, so that's sort of fine. Resource collection rate, he was doing much better than I was, really, for most of the match. That's worth taking note of. Upgrade spending. He was way ahead of me. I'm surprised I took those fights so well then. I mean, I was quite high-tech in terms of my army kind of composition, colossi, quite good upgrades with, you know, I think I was on infantry damage ground weapons 1, 2, maybe 3. And workers active, yeah, as we already saw. So really, I feel like he just didn't make enough stuff inside his army then. That's the only way he lost that, because economically, he was a-okay fine. I mean, I think he was more defensive than he needed to be. Like, 2 spine crawlers, as I saw when I scouted with those adepts, that's probably a bit too much, but hey, you know, it killed my adepts, so he probably saved himself the resources that he spent in those spine crawlers. Oh wow, he made a lot here. At least those first 2 spine crawlers, he probably made back that kind of resource count spent into them simply by killing my adepts, as otherwise my adepts probably would have gone on to kill, you know, 5 drones-ish on average. So yeah, cool game, cool game. Let's hop into the next one, shall we? Okay, Protoss versus Terrans. So my understanding of Terran at the moment is that Terrans tend to be really slow to begin with. It's GLHF. Because the way they generate army is very kind of slow and steady. They need like a good solid amount of barracks and factories and starports before they can start making any crazy type of push, as they are wont to do. So yeah, I feel like this game I'm going to be going... I mean, I'm going to be scouting off of my gateway, so that's going to be quite safe in that respect. But other than that, I'm going to be going for a nexus after the gateway, to try and get some sort of read going, I guess I would call it. Make a gateway, and let's scout. There we go. Getting a simulator for the gas. Protoss loving the gas, of course. So there we go, sticking once again our probe onto a separate hotkey so we can just very safely swap out between it. I also, before my gateways are turned into warp gates, I quite like setting them on a separate control group as well. Once they're warp gates, of course, you can just use W, which is pretty sick. Okay, so let's get a probe ready for that quick expansion. Let's make another worker. Actually, you know what? I probably don't need 3 in gas this early, especially if I'm not going for a... So he's got a barracks. This is very standard. None of this is too different. You know, I'll just... There we go. Stick that in a separate control group. We need to be making lots of those. We need to be making... Let's also make... I was going to make a second gateway, but I actually don't have the resources. And quite frankly, not getting supply blocked is probably more important. Let's scout again, just to make sure that he's not doing anything completely crazy. Meanwhile, making sure that we are back at home doing other things. Make a second gateway. Yeah, we've got that tied to a correct control group, which is very nice.
Your probes are under attack.
And we can start researching warp gate tech. So, yeah, not a bad start. It looks like he's playing very standard, to be honest. That looks like just a standard barracks into factory into starport kind of build. So, whilst we are over... oh wait, no, we want one of those. Probably want one of those as well. Let's boost out that as well. So whilst it might look like I'm getting wrecked at the moment, really he hasn't actually done a ton of damage. I'm not too afraid. Let's stick that in a separate control group.
I am here in the shadows.
Make sure that that's all going over there.
Your probes are under attack.
Make sure that we keep making stuff. That's pretty important. So whilst he can do some damage and lose me some workers, really I'm not too threatened. I'm still, you know, making stuff. I'm still sort of setting up my early game. I mean, the main thing is not panicking when it comes to that stuff.
Voice of the eclipse.
So we're going to need one of those. We're also going to need a second pylon to help our overcharges. Let's make more of those. More workers, more workers, more workers. Let's just rally those down there. Quite frankly, I probably should have made like a couple more army units, I guess. Let's get a bit more vision. Let's continue making stuff. I've actually made a lot more pylons than I really needed to, and that maybe has slowed me down a bit. But in terms of defenses, having lots of pylons for overcharge from your mothership core, that's also pretty important. So as soon as that's done, I'm just going to get all of those in. And I'm also going to pick up a forge, I think. Actually, no. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for a Twilight Cancel. You know, I've actually got the gas to spend, so I'm going to go for that as well. There we go. And actually, that needs to be sending workers to its own base. That is a fact. So now, I think I'm going to go for an Immortal. Yep, lots of workers. Let's also warp in another Stalker. If he goes for a drop, I actually expect him to come from this kind of a direction, so I'm going to send my Stalkers over to there.
Intriguing. I am here in the shadows.
And also send another Stalker over there.
I am here in the shadows.
Okay, so let's pick up Ground Weapons 1 and also Blink. Against drops from Terran, having the Stalker Blink is really important in terms of kind of being able to maneuver your Stalkers to take out the Medivacs, because those Medivacs are really the main source of your problems. If you take out the Medivacs, he has to spend kind of more gas in future to rebuild them. That slows down his mobility, any capability he has of, you know, really threatening you.
Our pylon is under attack.
Ooh, here we go. Okay, so let's... Well, doesn't look like he's going to be doing drops, which is kind of okay for us. Let's make just a nice mix of stuff. There is the chance that he goes into doing some kind of...
Darkness. We move unseen. I return to serve.
So if we take out the Marines, this force actually messes up Marauders really badly, because they are mechanical, I believe. So I'm just going to send those actually to continually mess those up, I think. As the more damage I do now, the better in future. And you know what? I'm actually just going to convert this into a push over there. There we go, lovely. And I'm mining way too much into those. Let's get a couple more over there. I'm just going to make a couple of Stalkers to make me safe against future drops. Although, really, I don't expect myself to be really in any severe problems regarding those in the future. We held off his initial stuff, so yeah. There we go, let's take a third base as well. Like, we've made it safe. This was not good. This was definitely not good. But it still wasn't horrific. It definitely wasn't horrific. But at this point, with all this kind of tech we've got, I really want to transition into something else. So let's pick that up, let's pick that up. Let's send that over there, let's make sure that that's tied to our base hot group. There's a chance that he actually just attacks now. But I've got all the infrastructure I need at this point, so I'm really not too worried actually.
I am the voice.
There we go, let's just add on some random cannons, because we have the resources to, so why the hell not? Okay, so now we can make these, so we definitely should. Colossi are amazing against bio, so that's definitely going to be our immediate plan. Okay, making sure we spend our resources, fantastic. And at this point, now it's nearly done, we can just kind of send some stuff over. That's a-okay fine. Make sure that that's actually linked to our group. Keep boosting the stuff that we want to boost. Make another Colossi. Of course, doing this move, I fully expect him to transition into Vikings to counter this, but once he goes Vikings, I can go into something like Templar and Archon, and once I've got that, I'm in a really good spot, so yeah. It all kind of runs from one build into the other quite seamlessly with Protoss. So there we go. I think he saw those cannons and instantly backed off. Let's make sure the Mothership Core is in a decent position to fight. Let's pull back into the cannons, shall we?
Upgrade complete. I am here in the shadows. Your probes are
So he's actually moving about our bases really nicely, so there we go.
Let our enemy know our fury. Research complete. You must construct
So now that we've wiped out a lot of his medivacs, I'm actually perfectly safe in the immediate future. So even though this looks bad, and it definitely isn't ideal, don't get me wrong, it's not anywhere near as bad as it otherwise could be. Although getting supply blocked is definitely not fantastic. So let's pick up that, and given that we've got a ton of minerals at the moment, let's make that. You know, I'm also going to go down here and take another Nexus because I can. There we go. And honestly, I'm not even sure that it's worth for me to rebuild this base. I don't even think that it is. So Stalkers aren't great against Terran Bio because they only have bonus damage against mechanical. So against all the bio, it's not that fantastic. But that's why you get all of these bad boy Colossus. That's really the intention of the build.
very well.
So we've got quite a lot of stuff, and we wiped out his medivacs, so his ability to counter push us at this point during all of our expansions, it really is quite limited. So there we go, just making sure that any new bases we make are indeed linked up and fully working for us. There we go. Let's make sure the Mothership Core can protect this base. This is really the most important thing in our kind of empire at this point, as this is our main source of just kind of income. Let's continue making Colossus. And let's just add on a few of those. There we go. So at this point, we can start building from that. Let's queue up a bunch of workers. Queuing up isn't fantastic, by the way. It's definitely not as good as just... Let's make a couple of those. Spend that gas. It's not as good as kind of having all the buildings making one unit at a time. It's just not as optimal. So we can push this off with this pylon. And my intention is going to be to take out that medivac. As you saw, it took him that long to make that kind of drop, which meant that he had to make all those medivacs, which is really what delayed him. So yeah, the more medivacs I take out, the more safe I'm going to be in the future. We might as well get that. I mean, you know what, let's not. Let's pick that up, just make a couple of pylons around. Just so we can kind of warp in nearer to home. Eventually what I'm intending to do is, honestly, all of these guys... Well, you know what, it's fine to long distance mine, I think, at this point. I'm going to change this rally point over to here. Let's also start picking up ground armor. That just makes sense. Let's also pick up Templar Archive, because again, that just makes sense. And let's make some more Stalkers.
You have not enough minerals.
So yeah, I fully intend to just make a bunch of stuff and run over and kill him as soon as I push off a counterattack. As once I push off a counterattack, chances are a lot of his stuff will just be kind of rebuilding, and Terran rebuilds a lot slower than Protoss and Zerg. Protoss can warp in units quite fast, and Zerg can just make, you know, big rounds of units with all their lava. So yeah, really I'm quite happy here.
You require more Vespene gas.
And this is why we want the gas at this point in the game.
You require more Vespene gas.
150? Yeah, 150. There we go. Honestly, I'm kind of feeling like I'm just going to instantly morph them into Archons.
You must construct additional pylons.
Let's continue making these bad boys. And quite frankly, I'm quite interested in taking this space as well. There we go. Okay, cool. Let's also make another 2 of these. So, in the interests of not getting completely destroyed by Vikings, I am just diversifying what my army is kind of composed of, and Archons are definitely a good thing to make. So with this kind of an army, I'm very confident with how any fight I make will go. I don't really want to push out quite yet though, because if I push out and he just doom drops me, I lose my base, and Terran in a base trade scenario is just, you know, in a much better spot than anyone else. And what I'm also going to do, I'm just going to really sneaky take this. Like, I've got all the resources in the world at this point. The worst thing I can do is not spend it, so yeah. This is going to be the plan. Might as well get Storm since we are here. And this entire time we were not mining off of this gas, so let's make sure that we do that. Just grab a bunch of these, send them over to here. There we go, just kind of alleviate the over-mining situation. And get ourselves a ton of stuff. So there we are, we're completely maxed out at this point. Really, what I'm tempted to do is make a second forge.
You must place that in a power field.
Let's make a bunch of those. Let's...
Unacceptable command. We are at maximum supply.
So we can't properly mine from all these new bases, but regardless, I'm not too worried.
Mineral field. Our pylon is under attack.
Okay, he's tempted to attack here. He's got a lot of Vikings. That is scary. Let's see his upgrades. He's going 2-1, so we're actually ahead of him big time in terms of upgrades. So I think I am just going to attack in and see what happens. And it is worth it for us to defend this. That is for absolutely sure. So let's make sure that we use all of our abilities. Let's kind of target down all of these boys. If we get rid of the Vikings during the fight, then our Colossi become a lot better than they otherwise would be. And Colossi in a one-on-one fight definitely beat anything bio-related, unless it's like fully upgraded and you're not upgraded, but yeah, that's not the case. Sadly, looks like we're in a bit of a pickle, but fortunately those units cannot shoot up, so that is definitely in our favour. Let's make a bunch of Archons, because why not? And let's also try and move over the map. So I'm going to make a couple of these. And I'm just going to stick a pylon over here as well, because what it allows me to do is just rally much closer to the fight. Which is definitely nice. And he took so much damage that time that I'm really quite confident. So we're letting our Archons tank all of the damage, which is nice. Let's also just slap down like a pylon over here. And we beat him. So quite clearly, after we'd wiped his army for the first time, and then we started moving in on his territory, I had the advantage. He was doing a good job of dropping in and taking out my bases, but sadly those bases were sort of being less and less important as the game went on. You saw my bank at the end, like, counting currently. The game still goes on as you kind of sit in this screen, by the way. I've got like 6k minerals and 1.5k gas, so I was, you know, sorted for the next, 5 minutes of constant fighting, more or less. So yeah, I'm quite happy with how that went. It was a little sloppy, but in terms of expanding when I felt safe to expand and when it was actually safe to, I think I was actually quite on point. So there we are, well on our way to Gold League Tier 2. Let's see who did the better things. I had slightly more APM. This is I would say this is around my average, sort of 80 to 85 is where I'm at. It's not insane, but you know what? I'm quite happy with that. As a new player, I'm fairly happy with that. 91 workers created. Now that's, I mean, first off, that's way more than you really need. Second off, that's largely because that game was getting quite bloated. It was quite late game. I was expanding all over the place because I felt completely safe to, and I had just such a booming economy. And yeah, so that's why that happened. And I was supply capped for, just under a minute. That's much worse than usual. But again, in the longer games, you have more time to screw up, so that's probably why that happened. And I spent, I had less unspent resources than he did, which is nice. But I definitely can improve that. So I had a lot more tech than he did. I think we saw that quite often with all of my kind of, really just the range of units I was using. I had Archons, Templar, Colossi. He was sticking to, Marine, Medevac. I didn't see any tanks, actually, to be fair, but I guess those were sieged up at home. So, Marine, Medevac, Marauder, and Vikings in the late game. Whereas I was more or less going the full Protoss kind of army other than air, so yeah, that's probably why that was the case. So, army value. His army value after that first kind of big fight was definitely quite just severely destroyed, really. There's no easy way to say it, but on that 10-minute fight, he pretty much lost the game there. From that point on, he was forced to spend a ton of resources and focus kind of rebuilding the army, which he did do, to be fair. When we fought at this point, we were basically on the level, but clearly something went wrong. I don't know if it was an army comp issue, as I do believe I pointed out, he was on like 2 armor and 1 ground weapons, so he was definitely behind in upgrades. So maybe that was why he lost the fight in the gold base. Resource collection, he actually had more spikes than I did, but that's just because Terran with their mules, they can massively bump up temporarily their resource gain, which is probably why that was the case. Upgrade spending, yeah, I was consistently ahead of him, and with Protoss that's such a big deal, as their late game units, such as Colossi, really, as well as Archons, they kind of grow in power so much when given extra upgrades, as the Colossi damage is splash, as well as the Archon damage. That splash, it's got a splash element to it, so if you increase their damage to, ground weapons 3 level, then they're going to be doing a ton of AoE damage over the course of an entire fight. Not to mention that they're quite tanky and hard to get rid of. So yeah, that's probably the story of that game. Just kind of more upgrades, slightly tighter kind of build. And then, yeah, workers active. I was probably actually making too many workers. I should have not made as many and had a bigger army so I could do more kind of drop style. But yeah, those were two pretty damn fun games. So I guess I'll leave it at that for today. Ooh, he was actually gold tier 2, which is quite nice. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. I'm just going to be doing some more of these types of videos where I attempt to do live commentary. If you prefer the kind of post-match in the replay section, kind of commentary where I'm actually looking at both players' perspectives, then I will mix that in as well. Maybe I'll do that for the next video. But yeah, this is sort of testing how I could commentate at the same time as playing, and I think it's actually going to be quite good in terms of reminding myself what I need to be doing, because I'm going to be telling myself what I'm doing, and therefore, you know, it'll hopefully trigger what I should be doing, if you know what I mean. I hope that sentence made some sort of sense. So, as always guys, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this StarCraft 2. There will be more StarCraft 2 in future, more analysis, commentary, and possibly post-match commentary. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta!